Welcome to my YouTube history channel, uTrace.
Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're taking a journey through what is, honestly, one of humanity's absolute greatest technological achievements. It's something we interact with constantly, literally every single day, yet we rarely ever stop to think about it.
So, let me ask you, how do you know morning has arrived? Today, the answer seems completely obvious, right? Your phone screen lights up with the time. Your alarm rings, you glance over at the digital clock on your microwave.
We live in a world that is totally bound by these intense, minute-by-minute schedules. I mean, think about it. If you're catching a flight or dialing into an online meeting, a difference of just 2 or 3 minutes can completely derail your entire day. But here's the crazy part. For the vast majority of human history, absolutely none of this existed. There were no smartphones, no alarm clocks, not even the concept of exact hours or minutes. And yet, early humans still managed to wake up, work, hunt, and get back home before dark. So how on earth did they do it?
Well, that brings us to our first part, nature's ancient rhythms, living before the clock.
To understand how they did it, the answer actually begins with something way older than any ticking machine. You see, for early humans, time was simply a natural observation. The rising sun meant a new day, the moon changed its shape, and the seasons predictably returned year after year. Light encouraged activity, and darkness encouraged rest. Our ancestors might not have known what an hour was, but their bodies intuitively followed the rhythm of life and the natural cycles happening all around them. But things shifted. As human settlements grew and agriculture became vital to survival, suddenly knowing exactly when something would happen became incredibly valuable. Farmers really needed to know precisely when to plant their seeds, when to expect changing weather patterns, and when crops were finally ready for harvest. So time was no longer just something people simply experienced as it passed. It became a crucial resource, something they desperately needed to measure.
Which leads us to the next big leap, the first timekeepers, looking at the sky and shadows. To solve this brand new problem of measuring time, humanity started by doing something very simple, looking up at the sky. Humans noticed that a stick placed in the ground cast a long shadow in the morning, which shortened as the sun rose and lengthened again in a new direction by evening. It was brilliant. The sundial literally turned the sun into humanity's very first clock. But it had a fatal flaw. It was completely useless at night, or even just on a cloudy day. And this hurdle forced humans to invent a totally new solution, the water clock.
Let's walk through exactly how this ingenious little device, also known as the clepsydra, actually functioned. It's kind of like a simple puzzle. You fill a container with water, let it slowly escape through a tiny opening, and measure the passing time by looking at marks on the container as the water level drops. Now, sure, changes in water pressure and temperature made it slightly imprecise, but it introduced a completely revolutionary principle. You don't actually have to see time itself. You just need a process that changes in a predictable way. And look at how beautifully this builds over time. We go from passively observing days through the sun and shadows to tracking months with the moon and predicting seasons for planting. Then, we figure out how to measure the hours of darkness with falling water. Eventually, this deep desire for a controlled, repeatable rhythm pushed us away from natural elements entirely, driving us to invent highly precise physical mechanisms using wheels and gears. Which brings us to a major turning point. Machines take control. The mechanical era, and the public bell.
This was an incredibly fast-paced transformation. The dawn of the mechanical era and the booming ring of the public bell in medieval towns was an absolute game-changer in human history. For the very first time, society began organizing itself around the clock. Large public clocks became the literal centerpieces of cities. Markets, religious practices, and daily labor all started running on the exact same mechanical signal. Basically, humans stopped using clocks just to measure nature, and instead let the machines start dictating the very structure of their day.
And that local control soon wasn't enough. Next up is synchronizing the world, oceans, railways, and global time. You see, measuring the hours in a single town was just the beginning. The next major hurdle was global exploration and what's known as the longitude problem. Imagine being out in the middle of a vast ocean with 0 landmarks. To figure out your exact east-west position, you absolutely have to compare your local solar time with the time back home. But earlier clocks relied on swinging pendulums or super fragile gears, so a clock that worked perfectly fine in a quiet European town had to somehow survive violently rocking ships, wild temperature swings, and salt-heavy humidity without losing a single minute. If it failed, the ship would be completely lost. It was literally a matter of life and death. Now, once we conquered the oceans, we had to conquer the land. Before trains, every town had its own local solar time. Basically, when the sun was highest, it was noon. Simple, right? But railways changed everything. A train leaving one city at noon could arrive in another city where it was suddenly a completely different local time. It was total, absolute chaos. To fix this nightmare, railways essentially forced the world to invent standard time and time zones, replacing all those confusing local times with a single shared reference framework.
Just look at how rapidly this cascaded into what we now call the synchronized society. Because of standard times, stations synced up and timetables locked into place. That strict discipline poured right into the economy. Factories introduced rigid working shifts, offices standardized exactly when they opened their doors, and communication systems hummed along to beautifully coordinated ticks. This is it. This is the exact moment human civilization fully severed its primary reliance on natural time and became permanently bound to mechanical time, connecting the entire globe.
But the story doesn't end there. Next is atomic precision and relativity. Physics delivers an astonishing surprise.
Just when we thought we had time perfectly boxed up, standardized, and figured out, the 20th century arrived, and Albert Einstein shattered absolutely everything we thought we knew. In our everyday experience, time feels rigid, universal, and constantly flowing at the exact same rate everywhere. But Einstein realized that at extreme speeds or in different gravitational environments, time is actually relative. It's flexible. A clock takes at a slightly different rate depending on how fast you're moving or the gravity you're experiencing. It's truly mind-bending stuff. So to actually measure these incredibly tiny differences and to push our technology forward, mechanical gears just weren't going to cut it anymore. We needed the atomic clock. Humanity completely abandoned swinging pendulums and gears, turning instead to the incredibly stable, microscopic behavior of atoms to achieve the ultimate level of scientific precision. And hey, don't think atomic clocks are just for scientists locked away in labs. Atomic time is literally the invisible pulse of your daily life right now. It controls our modern communication networks. Without atomic synchronization, the GPS on the phone in your pocket would fail. Satellites would lose their way, computer networks would crash, and global transportation would just grind to a halt. Our entire interconnected modern world completely rests on the predictable behavior of atoms. Which leads us to our final section, the ultimate mystery. We didn't create time, we just measured it.
We've come so far in this journey together. I mean, from looking at a shadow on the dirt all the way to observing atoms vibrating in a vacuum. But throughout this amazing history, the one thing we never actually did was create time. We just created increasingly sophisticated ways to observe and measure it, which leaves us with this final, truly profound thought. We can track time down to the billionth of a second. We can synchronize the entire globe. We can even use it to map the stars. But despite all of our brilliant inventions, our deep history of curiosity, and our most advanced scientific discoveries, what exactly is time? The true nature of it remains one of the universe's greatest unresolved mysteries. So just keep that in mind tomorrow morning when your alarm goes off.
Your support means a lot. See you in the next video.